Hello there guys, welcome to another my live video. So we are enjoying our worst start to a Premier League season in 3 decades. Obviously, following the 1-1 draw with Arsenal yesterday evening at Old Trafford. So we've only registered 9 points from 7 league games, and that is really a bad indeed. And obviously now the pressure is mounting up even more on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and that. But like I did say, you can pinpoint certain games out this season that arguably Manchester United should have won. We should have won at Southampton away earlier on in the season. We should have won at Wolves away earlier on in the season. We should have definitely won against Crystal Palace at home. We should have arguably won the game yesterday evening against Arsenal. Because analysing the game yesterday evening, I thought the performance was better for Manchester United, and there was some good individual performances and that. But again, I think we had around 16 shots in the game. I think we had 12 shots outside the box. But the game there was a lot of chances created in the game. There was also a lot of endeavour, but I still think the game lacked quality in that. It was good to see McTominay get his name on the score sheet just before half time. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty decent performance by Manchester United, to be quite honest. Obviously, David De Gea had to make a couple of world class saves in the first half and that. But yeah, McTominay's goal, took his goal, really well. And then obviously in the second half, just before the hour mark, obviously Arsenal got level with Patrick-Emerick Aubameyang. Obviously, it was a misplaced pass from Alex Tuanzebe. Obviously, that led to Aubameyang's equaliser. He was supposed to pass it to Lindelof, but obviously the pass didn't materialise. So obviously Aubameyang, went and chipped David De Gea and got Arsenal level. Obviously the goal initially had been ruled out, but obviously VAR had intervened, and obviously they did allow the goal and that. So yeah, it was 1-1, but this is not good enough now. We are sitting 10th in the table and that. And like I did say, due to our inconsistency, I think the vast majority of the blame, does stem from the board and that, because the board didn't back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer enough, during the summer and that, and the board weren't ruthless enough, during the summer. And I think the board have got to assure structural changes at Manchester United, and whether they assure these structural changes or not, I do not know. Also, some of the blame, does stem from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well, and obviously you've got the vast majority of Manchester United fans now demanding Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out of the football club. And I did initially say, if this bad run of form, does continue to persist, I think Solskjaer will be sacked by Christmas. Like I do keep saying, I think a lot of industries believe he will be gone by Christmas. But like I said, so far this season he's replicating what I saw last season. What I mean in that aspect is, I haven't really seen much improvements, and I think if we carry on, we could enjoy a worse season this season than what we saw last season. But yeah, I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tenure is going to become successful at Manchester United. But I think we've scored one goal in every game this season. Apart from the Chelsea game on the opening day of the Premier League season. I think, there's 3 games in the league this season we've failed to win, when we've been winning 1-0 at half-time and that. So that's obviously, very disappointing. But for me, the things that need to improve Manchester United, the results have obviously got to improve, the performances have got to improve, certain players have also, got to improve in that. The tactics need to improve in that. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tactics are questionable. I think, we are very tactically inept. But yeah, I think everyone, needs to take the blame. So it is a mixture, but I think the vast majority of the blame, does stem from the board. Also, some of the blame, does stem from Ed Woodward, because obviously Ed Woodward is the vice chairman, and obviously, he oversees our transfer business. But despite the fact, that we did get rid of a lot of the deadwood, throughout the course of the summer, I still believe, these problematic players at Manchester United that do need to be moved on in January and of course next summer. My overarching view on all of this is that I know we've enjoyed really bad start to the season, but I am still backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You'll still get certain Manchester United fans that are still backing him. We know the vast majority of the fans, are demanding him out of the football club. But I think, Man United are still backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and Ed Woodward is still convinced, that he can turn things around at the football club. Because for me, Solskjaer does need at least a couple of windows, because obviously we know that further more investment is needed in the squad. But like I did say to you, I credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in certain aspects in that, he's got a lot of faith in his young players. Obviously, he's still got a lot of confidence in a lot of our players, to be fair. Obviously, as well, he did recommend 3 good players to the squad during the summer, and obviously, we spent over around 100. We spent over 140 million pounds on 3 good players. Obviously, we got Daniel James in, and Wan-Bissaka, and Harry Maguire, and we have seen glimpses of what good signings they've proven to be so far for Manchester United. So I'm happy in the aspect that we did address some of the problematic areas. Don't get me wrong, there's still problematic areas in the squad that need to be addressed. I wanted us to try and address all the problematic areas during the summer, but obviously it was going to be extremely difficult difficult for us, to address all the problematic areas in one summer transfer window, because obviously this has only been Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first summer as Manchester United. But in my opinion, he wasn't backed enough, during the summer as the board, did initially ashore. So I think it did say at the start of this season that, regardless of what happens this season, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job, should be safe for at least this season. As long as we're not, in mid-table or fighting relegation, his job should be safe for them at least this season. But like I said, we're sitting at 10th now in the league and that. And like I did say, reflecting on the amount of money that Manchester United have spent in the last, 6 or 7 years, also reflecting on the history of this football club, because we are the most successful team in England, historically, we should be much more of a better commanding position, than we're in now. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not exceeding expectation levels at Manchester United, because I did initially say, at the start of this season that obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got to exceed expectations at Manchester United. I did say, we've got to get back into that top 4 this season, because obviously, we do want to get back into the Champions League, because obviously we failed to qualify for the Champions League last season. And I did initially say, our aspirations, will be that top 4 in the next couple of seasons and that, because obviously analysing our squad at the moment, it isn't good enough, for to win the league or mount any kind of title challenge up and that. If we was to get the top 4 this season, I would be really, really happy in that. But it's looking like, we're not even going to get into the top 6, top 7, the way things are going at the moment. But, there is still 31 games left in the season. But for me, I'm still backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Like I said, analysing, he's still in the process of rebuilding. But I think a couple of other things, that went against us, in the summer. Obviously, we failed to qualify for the Champions League. So in that aspect, it was going to be extremely difficult for us, to attract players to elite level, because obviously, I said a lot of players, had element of concerns about, coming to the football club with our failure to qualify for the Champions League. Obviously, we didn't manage to get a director of footballing as well, during the summer. And I did say, that's one of the structural changes, that Manchester United do need, is getting a new director of footballing and that. Don't forget, earlier on in the summer, there was some form of Manchester United players linked with the director's role at the football club and that. Obviously, I think it did say the other week, well, there was a lot of speculation saying that Ed Woodward is still looking to appoint a new director of footballing and that. And I did say, we need to recommend someone who knows the culture of the club, someone, of course, who's got that experience, and someone who would be, reliable, to oversee our transfer business and that. But yeah, there's not only our fans, demanding Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out. There's also been a lot of fans, demanding Ed Woodward out of the football club. Also, they've been criticising the Glazers. And I did initially say anyway, I don't like the way the football club has been run in the last 6 or 7 years. But for me, Solskjaer does need at least a couple of more windows. I think we need to give him till, next couple of windows, so see who we can recommend in January, see who, of course, who we can get in next summer. I still believe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to continue the policy of signing them young British players, like he did do, during the summer. Solskjaer's recently come out as well, and he has said, Man United face a steep learning curve and that. But yeah, and I want his tenure, to become successful at Manchester United, as I do keep saying, because I do love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer a lot. He was a great player for Manchester United for 11 years. He flourished under Alex Ferguson's guidance. And he has got that proven pedigree as a player, but he hasn't really got that managerial experience, to the highest level. So that's another element of concern I have got about him. He won a couple of Norwegian titles with Molde. Obviously, he only had a really short tenure with Cardiff. And Solskjaer, is our 4th permanent manager since the Alex Ferguson era. He's our 4th permanent manager. We're not really known for sacking club, despite the fact, that 3 managers have already been sacked, since the Alex Ferguson era. And like I did initially say, we haven't got the structure, to keep sacking managers. But, we've got no choice, if this bad run of form, does continue to persist. But yeah, and, we are tactically inept, I will admit that. I think the personnel and that, seems to be there. But, we just are tactically inept, to be quite honest with you. And I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got the stature, to get us in that commanding position, where we do want to be. But, Solskjaer hasn't had a long tenure at Manchester United so far. He's only been at the club around, 10 months. So overall, he's been at the club, just under a year. Don't forget, we recommended Solskjaer in December of last year, obviously, following the dismissal of Jose Mourinho, and obviously he came in as interim manager at the first, he obviously was interim manager for 3 months, was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, don't forget, and in that 3-month period, the results were good, the performances were good, he got the best out of these group of players, and he exceeded expectations, and that we won 14 games out of 19 in total, Solskjaer in that, won his first 8 games, and in that 3-month period as well, he was getting the best out of these group of players. The results were good, the performances were good, but since he got the job in March earlier on this year, everything has just basically, seemed to have all gone wrong. And I think now, and I said the same, towards the back end of last season, like a lot of Man United fans were also saying that we did give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job too early. Maybe we should have waited until the end of last season, or we should have waited until at some point this season, to think about giving Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job. But for me, I don't think it's going to work out for him at Manchester United, to be quite honest with you. But, despite our bad start to the season, I think a lot of players are underperforming, but I still think, these certain players, that are actually, playing really, really well this season. Like I said, Dan James, he's enjoyed a fantastic start to his Manchester United career. He's only, 21 years of age. I think he has scored 3 goals so far this season as Dan James. And I think so far this season, Daniel James is replicating, what he did. What he did with Swansea last season. That don't forget he scored in his competitive debut for the club on the opening day against Chelsea. But yeah, he's done really, really well this season. And Wan-Bissaka, I know he wasn't playing yesterday because obviously he's been out with illness. Obviously it confirmed prior to the game yesterday. Now Wan-Bissaka, was a big miss because he's been mainly consistent this season. A lot of people believe, Wan-Bissaka has been our most consistent signing. His distribution's good. He shows that ability to play out from the back. And so far this season, he's basically replicating, what he did last season with Crystal Palace. And don't forget, Wan-Bissaka, only made his senior debut back in February 2018. And Harry Maguire, I think he's had a great start to his Manchester United career. I don't think he was too bad yesterday. I thought, he made some vital interceptions and that. Maguire, like I said, we paid £80 million for Harry Maguire. Obviously, is the second most expensive. Our second most expensive signing. He's the most expensive defender in the world. And his distribution's good, he's highly experienced, he shows that ability, to play out from the back. I know we overpaid for him, the football club did overpay for Harry Maguire, but I did say in these markets, this day and age, you have to overpay for certain players. But I think, if they all keep the consistency up, James, Bissaka and Maguire, I think all their valuations, will persistently grow. But yeah, I think Lindelof and him are blending well together mainly, in our back line, which is very, very good. So, I'm glad we got that experienced centre-half and I'm glad we got that right back in. But I have got a lot of element of concerns about that midfield. So we need to think about strengthening that midfield up in January or next summer, because that midfield area is one of the priority areas where Manchester United do need to strengthen up. Don't forget, during the summer as well, we was in search for them a right winner. I think other players that have played really, really well though this season, I think McTominay has enjoyed a great start to this season for Manchester United. He's obviously played in the vast majority of the games. Don't forget, he has been mainly, playing alongside Paul Pogba. And McTominay, has been absolutely fantastic. Like I do keep saying, these question marks around him. Can he keep the consistency up? Is he the long-term solution for Manchester United, McTominay? But to be fair, he has done really, really well. Scored a really, really good goal yesterday. I think that's actually his first Old Trafford goal. He's Scott McTominay's, and he's still only very, very young. He is still, only very, very young, Scott McTominay, but I think he's done really, really well this season. I think he's, put Paul Pogba to shame, to be quite honest, because I think he's performed better than Paul Pogba in that midfield. But yeah, he deserves to keep his place in the team, reflecting on his impressive performances. But what a performance, he did put out yesterday. And yeah, there is certain players, that have actually played really, really well. I think Lindelof, for the majority of this season so far, has played really, really well. He's had a couple of games where he's been off, but I think prior to that, Lindelof has mainly, done very, very well for Manchester United. Jesse Lingard, he's been very, very poor so far this season. Again, wasn't too good yesterday against Arsenal. Lingard, obviously, his goal scoring record is usually, very, very good against Arsenal. And like I did say, reflecting on Jesse Lingard's status at the football club, and Jesse Lingard is on around, £100,000 a week. He should be, putting much more better performances out. But I'd still say he's a long-term solution for Manchester United. Fred, now obviously Fred came on in the game yesterday in the second half. I think Fred's had a good couple of games this season, that he has played in and that. Fred does need a bit more time at the football club. He's only been at Manchester United since last summer. Obviously, we paid just under £50 million for him back under the Jose Mourinho era. He's enjoyed mainly a difficult time at the club, in comparison to his time at Shakhtar Donetsk, because he was an exceptional player at Shakhtar Donetsk, but he hasn't really replicated this at Manchester United as Fred. But for me, he needs more time. Never really got the chance, don't forget, under Jose Mourinho. But yeah, for me, he needs more time. But I did say any of our midfield options are much better solutions than Matic, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. I think also Andres Pereira needs time. Andres Pereira, he had quite a few opportunities, I think, yesterday. Don't forget, he did start the game. He hasn't been too good this season, but, I would still, give Andres Pereira time. But like I did say, I thought it was disappointing result, against Arsenal yesterday. We didn't lose the game. What that was the main thing. We didn't lose the game, but it was a game obviously that Manchester United needed to win. But we have still got quite a few injuries, don't forget. So probably Arsenal would have been more disappointed than us. Actually, Arsenal had a couple of their players out. I think they had Tierney out as well. But they had Tierney out, one of their summer signings, who they got him from Celtic for 25 million. They also, I think, had Mesut Ozil out. But obviously, we had Martial out, Luke Shaw out, Bissaka's out. Diego Dalton, Angel Gomez, and that were out. And obviously, Pogba wasn't fully fit. Rashford, wasn't fully fit because, like I said, Rashford had opportunities yesterday. There was one in the first half when he was on goal. Obviously, though, didn't take his opportunity in that. But Rashford, basically, Solskjaer gambled Rashford and Pogba, even though, they weren't fully fit. But analysing Rashford so far this season, I don't think he's been to his potential best this season as Marcus Rashford. There's still 31 games remaining this season, so there's still room for improvements in Rashford's game and that, but he's enjoyed a really, really difficult time this season. He's done okay in certain parts and that. I thought he did well throughout pre-season. He did well on the opening day of the season against Chelsea, but I think since then, he has been really, really poor. Don't forget, Rashford did come off injured in the 2-0 defeat to West Ham last weekend with a groin problem and that. And Rashford, like I said, I love him a lot. He's so far spent the entirety of his career with Manchester United as Rashford. Rashford's been a United player since the age of 7, progressing up the ranks, and he's been in the senior squad with us, since 2016. Don't forget, one of his, best moments, obviously, was when he scored in his, Europa League debut against Midtjylland. Also scored twice on his Premier League debut against Arsenal back in February 2016. Also as well scored in his first ever Manchester derby, and that's when Rashford was on fire. But I think he's been poor so far this season mainly. Obviously, he was also poor in the last couple of months of last season. But I'd still say he's the long-term solution for Manchester United. But when he's at his best, Rashford can get them runs in behind. He seems to have that finishing asset, when he's at his best and that. But he's been nowhere near to his standard so far mainly this season. But like I did say to you, Mason Greenwood, we know that Mason Greenwood came on in the game yesterday. And Mason Greenwood, I did say at this moment in time, I think he is a much better solution than Marcus Rashford, if I'm going to be quite honest with you, because Mason Greenwood has not yet started a game from the start in the Premier League. I thought, he probably, maybe would have started yesterday evening's game, but he needs to get a start in the Premier League. He has made 4 substitute appearances so far in the league. Obviously, he has, in his last 2 games, he has started. He has obviously scored both times. Obviously, started against Rochdale and started against FC Astana, and obviously in both them games he came up with that moment of quality, Mason Greenwood. And Greenwood is only 17 years of age, but Solskjaer recently give his overarching view on him. I'm going to interpret some of the stuff he mentioned about Greenwood, and he actually said it's impossible to leave Greenwood out of the team if he does keep scoring, and obviously if he is to keep the consistency up, Solskjaer has assured that Mason Greenwood will get more minutes under his belt. And I think he's developing well, and by the time he's 23, 24, I think Greenwood can become a world-class centre-forward for Manchester United. And, he's probably going to be in line to definitely start against Alkmaar on Thursday in the Europa League. Obviously, the game on Thursday is another particular game where I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will go more way with the youth. So we'll probably see the likes of Jones and Rojo and that all. I know they're not the youth, but obviously, they're them type of players, will get their opportunities in that. Jones and Rojo have both made 2 appearances this season. That obviously they played in the Rochdale game, and obviously, they played in the FC Astana game and that. But yeah, he will rest some imperative players, will Solskjaer, obviously for the Newcastle game on Sunday. I think it is away from home. I think it is, away from home and all that. And but yeah, like I said, games are coming up thick and fast. Alkmaar Thursday, Newcastle on Sunday. Then it's the international break, and then we go. Well, our next home game is Liverpool after the international break. I probably think we're also going to drop points against Liverpool, definitely. And yeah, but Mason Greenwood, the games he's participated in this season, he has, been really, really, really good. But Anthony Martial and Luke Shaw now, like I said, they've both missed, I think, the last 4 or 5 games for Manchester United with Anthony Martial and Luke Shaw. Now, Martial's obviously been out with thigh injury, and Luke Shaw, of course, has been out with a hamstring injury. And we do know that, obviously, they are 2 imperative players for Manchester United. Now, Anthony Martial, I think, before he sustained this thigh injury, I thought he enjoyed a really, really good start to the season. He did well in his first 3 games, obviously, when he was fully fit and that. And like I said, he is close now, I think, to regaining full fitness, and if he can avoid any more injuries and he can keep the consistency up, I think Martial can score from at least between 15 to 20 goals this season without a shadow of a doubt. Martial now is into his 5th season as a Manchester United player. I think he scored over 50 goals for the club in all competitions. Obviously, don't forget he signed a new contract, back in January, so he's under contract with the club until 2024. We know that Martial predominantly, plays out on the left, but actually, it got confirmed at the start of the season that Anthony Martial is being given that number 9 shirt, because he does seem to be more effective in that central position, does Martial. Martial and Rashford can both play centrally, they can both play out wide, so in that aspect, they are compatible, but Martial's more of the standout player in that central position. But yeah, I think he's close to regaining full fitness, so Martial should be back for the game against Newcastle on Sunday, and I presume that Luke Shaw should be back for the game against Newcastle on Sunday, because I don't think, even if they were fit for the game on Thursday, I don't think they'd be playing, because I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer obviously, will rest quite a few imperative players, because he's going to make alterations in the squad, obviously. Well, Luke Shaw, I think actually, before he got injured, to be fair, he enjoyed a pretty difficult start to the season. He hasn't played since the 2-1 defeat to Crystal Palace at home. Luke Shaw obviously won the double player of the season last season, obviously reflecting on his impressive performances last season. Obviously he's our first choice left back, obviously mainly due to Luke Shaw's absentee. It has been mainly Ashley Young that's been fulfilling his role at that left back position. Young obviously played at right back yesterday, he captained the team. But Young's been playing on a regular basis, quite recently. But I think Solskjaer confirmed that, Luke Shaw had returned back to training and that. So he's obviously, closer to regaining full fitness. But Luke Shaw, he's now into his, 5th season, I think, as a Manchester United player. I think he's mainly been consistent throughout his career with Man United. He has had some bad spells and that, he had a bad spell under Mourinho, he has sustained quite a few injuries. But prior to that, I think, he has done mainly well. Fosu Mensah, he's another one with the young upcoming players. It's confirmed, it got confirmed by Solskjaer that, as obviously he's returned back to training. Obviously, he's been out of injury for quite some time now. He's been out with a knee injury. Don't forget, he only returned to the club earlier on in the summer, because last season he was on loan with Fulham, was Fosu Mensah. Obviously, like I said, Diego Dalot and Angel Gomez, they're both injured. Hopefully they can be back for Thursday against AZ Alkmaar. Diego Dalot, so far this season, has only made 1 appearance for the club. Obviously, that came against FC Astana. And Angel Gomez, don't forget, he was involved in the game against West Ham. He came on as a substitute. Angel Gomez, obviously, didn't as you say, he's going to be a big part of the squad this season. But like I said, we have got a lot of young upcoming players in the squad that are developing and trying to improve. We've also got a lot of experienced players in the team. But Solskjaer has got a lot of faith in his young players. And I don't think, all the young upcoming players, will become will become successful at Manchester United, in my opinion. Maybe we should orchestrate on, maybe loaning some of the young upcoming players out and that, because maybe we'll think it'll be beneficial for their career. It may obviously, in that aspect, gain them more experience. And it may only turn out that, Mason Greenwood, only becomes a successful one. I think Alex Tuanzebe can become a success at the club as well. I thought he had a good game yesterday against Arsenal, to be fair. But I think he can become a success at the football club. He's predominantly a centre-back, is Tuanzebe. But actually, he played at left-back yesterday, because he can play as a full-back as well, as a centre-back and Tuanzebe. But obviously, he mainly won't get chances in the Premier League, so often this season, because obviously Harry Maguire and Vitz Lindelof are our first choice centre backs. But I think the only reason he played yesterday was obviously due to the injuries we had at that full back position. We had quite a few full backs out with injury. Could have played Rojo maybe, but he obviously decided to go with Alex Tuanzebe. Don't forget Tuanzebe was on loan with Aston Villa last season. My overarching view on Chong, obviously, he mainly won't play in the Premier League this season. Obviously, he'll get more chances in the Europa League and the Cup games again. I don't know if Chong is a long-term solution for Manchester United. I think there's quite a few Man United fans, that have got element of concerns about him. Don't forget, he could have gone on loan, earlier on in the summer. He could have gone to PSV, or he could have gone to his former club Feyenoord, because don't forget, he had received loan offers from both of them. But obviously, he turned them down, and obviously, wanted to remain loyal at Manchester United, did Chong. But yeah, he's another one of the young upcoming players. He's only 19 years of age. Jimmy Garner, he's another one of the young upcoming players. I don't think he's yet played so far this season. We know he played a couple of games throughout pre-season, did Jimmy Garner. But he's another one of the young upcoming players. But for me, the things that need to improve at Manchester United, the away form needs to improve, because we haven't won away from home, since the PSG game last season. Don't forget, when we did produce that miraculous comeback, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's most iconic moment as manager. Our home form's been very, very poor, so also that needs to improve. I think a lot of things, do need to improve at Manchester United and that. But I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to last. Don't forget, like I said, we did get that summer clear out, that we was demanding, during the summer. A lot of players have now left the football club. Obviously, like I said, Valencia left at the end of last season after he served 10 years there with Man United. He was a long-serving player. The likes of Smalling went out on loan to Roma for just under £3 million. Smalling was a long-serving player at the football club. He served around 9 years at Manchester United. Obviously, despite Smalling leaving, though, we've still got 6 centre-backs in the team. Obviously, we know that Darmian left the football club. Basically, we let Darmian go for next to nothing, because obviously, we paid just over £12 million for him from Torino, back under the Louis van Gaal era and that. And it was no surprise that he left the football club, because he was surplus to requirements at Manchester United anywhere. Darmian, never really got the opportunity. But I'm just surprised, of how much we let him go for. So if we paid just over £12 million for him, and we let him go for just over £1 million, then we've lost out on around £10, 11 million pounds, something like that. So letting him go for next to nothing was bad business from the football club. But maybe if we'd have got rid of Darmian maybe a year or two ago, then maybe we would at least recoup the money that we did pay for him from Torino back in 2015, or maybe even gained him a little bit of a profit. But yeah, it was good that he went anywhere. Herrera, he should have never left the football club. In my opinion, that was a mistake from Manchester United, letting him go. I was infuriated anyway that we let Ander Herrera leave the football club, but I was also infuriated that we let his contract run down and we let Ander Herrera go on a free transfer, because Ander Herrera was arguably one of our best players, since the Alex Ferguson and Herrera. We know the difference he made in that midfield and that. And this is a good statistic. The majority of the games we won, Ander Herrera was playing last season. So that just indicates how much of an impact he did make in that midfield. We should have really recruited a replacement for Ander Herrera, during the summer. But yeah, he had 5 successful years at Manchester United. But like I said, we're known for overpaying for players, and then when it comes to letting them go, we let them go for next to nothing. We're well known for doing that. And, Fellaini left the football club back in January. He went to China, did Marian Fellaini, but analysing the majority of his career, he was obviously mainly inconsistent and that. He had the odd couple of games, here and there where he did quite well. Lukaku left the football club. It was a shame again, that we didn't recruit a replacement for him. Like I said, the main reason why Lukaku left the football club is because obviously he initially lost his place in the team. Basically, he wasn't, getting them, he wasn't getting the chances, in his second season, that he would have liked. Lukaku actually, did well in his first season, when he was at the football club and that, and in his second season didn't really, replicate, what he did in his first season. That, but Lukaku scored quite a lot of goals for Man United. I think he scored 42 goals in 96 games in all competitions for the football club. And people were talking about how slow he was and his first touch was abysmal and that. But he could score goals, could Romelu Lukaku, and I think he will be doing the same now for Inter Milan. I haven't been watching him at Inter Milan at the moment. And Sanchez obviously has gone to Inter Milan. So obviously Sanchez and Lukaku are both reuniting together. With Sanchez, despite the fact that he's on loan with Inter Milan, don't forget, there's no obligation to buy, so Inter Milan can't make the deal permanent at the end of the loan. We're still paying the vast majority of Sanchez's wages. I think we're still paying him around £300,000 a week, if I'm right, even though he's on loan with Inter Milan. But yeah, like I said, Italy's been a very, very popular destination for the vast majority of our players this summer. But for me, these still are problematic players at the football club that do need to be moved on in January and next summer, in my own personal opinion. In my own personal opinion. So these still problematic players at the football club, I've got to be honest with you. But yeah, like I did say, Solskjaer needs more time at Manchester United, because obviously taking into account, back under the Alex Ferguson era, don't forget, we didn't win out Ferguson didn't win out in his first 3 to 4 years at Manchester United, and that, when he got recommended in from Aberdeen back in 1985 and 1986, Ferguson, didn't win anything at all. And then obviously at that point he was on the verge of getting the sack. He was actually one game away from getting the sack, but obviously didn't get the sack. And then obviously look what he went and accomplished. We had 20 odd years of success under him. Obviously Ferguson developed a lot of young players. Don't forget, but under Ferguson we always there was always that fear factor. There was always that winning mentality. We always mainly used to boss the transfer marks, and our recruitment was very, very good. But since then, none of that has been there at Manchester United, and that it's none of that has obviously been there. But like I said, regardless of who our manager is, no one is going to ever follow Alex Ferguson's legacy. No one's going to have as long. No one's going to ever have a tenure as long as Ferguson did. We're never going to replicate what we did under Ferguson, and that's something, of course, we have got to accept. But for me, Solskjaer, does need time at the football club and that. But look at the amount of money that's been spent at Manchester United in the last 6 or 7 years. A lot of money has been spent at the football club. Obviously, over £140 million is sum under Solskjaer. Just under £400 million was spent under Jose Mourinho. Obviously, over £200 million was spent under Van Gaal. Van Gaal brought a lot of players in, but the vast majority of them have now left. Moyes, we spent around £67 million. So we spent around £800 million in the last 6 or 7 years on players. That's how much Manchester United have invested. And that's not taken into account as well, what was spent under Alex Ferguson. So we haven't only spent big on players, we've also now, got players on big contracts and that. So with the size of this club and that, we should not be in this position, where we are at the moment. But I would still give him more time at Manchester United. AZ Alkmaar game, sorry. The preview for that will be coming up later on today. I definitely know will be tomorrow, if it isn't later on today. Obviously, like I said, we've played one game so far in the Europa League. Will be FC Astana 1-0. This is going to be our second game in the Europa League. And like I said, AZ Alkmaar and Partizan Belgrade, they're going to be much more tougher tests anywhere than FC Astana. But yeah, I'll be watching. I presume that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be doing a press conference, to that game. Hopefully hopefully, we can hear some more news on Luke Shaw, Martial and Dalot and Angel Gomez and all that, the players there that have been out with injury. We'll obviously get an update on Wan-Bissaka and that. Yeah. And like I've been updating you, recently, about Paul Pogba. Obviously, there was a lot of reports speculating out earlier on this weekend about Paul Pogba. For him to possibly, renew his contract at Man United and that, he said he was demanding a substantial £600,000 a week, to commit his long-term future with Manchester United. And £600,000 a week, equates to around, £30 million pounds a year, or £31 million pounds a year. But even though Man United have got the financial power probably to meet these wage demands, I can't see, Man United, willing to meet these wage demands and that, because Paul Pogba, on his current deal at the moment, is on around, £290,000 a week. So in that aspect, he's one of the highest paid players at the football club, and Paul Pogba's got 2 years left on his contract at Manchester United with an option to extend it by a further year. Obviously, Pogba, I think, is still desperate, to leave the football club anyway. I still think he wants to leave in January in that. Solskjaer's very, very adamant, that Paul Pogba, will not be for sale in January. But Paul Pogba now has been at Manchester United. He's now into his 4th season at the club, since he rejoined from Juventus back in 2016. And he has, been mainly inconsistent, comparison to his time, when he was at Juventus. Because Paul Pogba, did have 4 good years there with Juventus. But Paul Pogba's done okay in parts this season. That, he missed a penalty earlier on in the season. That, but he hasn't performed to the standards, as we all expected him to, to be quite monetary. And we have seen the best of Paul Pogba as a Manchester United player. We mainly actually saw the best of him in that 3-month period, when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the interim manager. We mainly saw the best of him in that. We mainly saw the best of him, but Paul Pogba, is mainly at his best, when he's freed up. I don't even think he's scored yet this season, Pogba, but he has recently, been out with an ankle injury, don't forget. So, like I said, he played yesterday, but, he wasn't fully fit. I think he's orchestrating... He's orchestrating for the future to make a move to Real Madrid, because don't forget, during the summer, he was relentlessly linked to a move to Real Madrid. Obviously, Real Madrid definitely was his preference, even though there was rumours about him possibly making a return back to Turin, because Paul Pogba, did have 4 good years in Turin with Juventus. Hasn't, mainly replicated this at Man United and that. Obviously, PSG, I think when him allegedly had agreed a deadline day move to PSG, but his move to PSG never materialised, allegedly because of the Neymar saga. And also, I think, Barcelona were linked to him, but definitely I think Real Madrid will reignite their interest in Paul Pogba in January, without a shadow of a doubt. But yeah, I think, reflecting on the substantial amount, we put on Paul Pogba during the summer, that was a stumbling block, basically, of Paul Pogba, leaving Manchester United to join Real Madrid, because Real Madrid, were not willing to meet what we was demanding, because we quoted out that we wanted somewhere in the region of around £180 million. Obviously, Real Madrid were not willing to pay that and that, and I think if we had to soften our stance on Pogba in January in that, we will want the same sort of figure as we wanted, of course, earlier on in the summer. But Real Madrid themselves spent a substantial amount during the summer. They spent around, £300 million on 5 players. They did sell some players, so Real Madrid obviously, did generate, some of the money back. But, Paul Pogba, I still think, wants out of the club. I can tell, obviously he confirmed this back in June, earlier on this summer, that he wants to leave Manchester United. Obviously, he publicly admitted, that he as well, that he wanted to leave the football club and that. And I think he just feels unhappy at the football club, to be quite honest. But Solskjaer knows deep down how much an imperative player he is. But Paul Pogba with the football club, has won the Europa League and League Cup. That came in his 2nd season at Manchester United and that. Don't forget, we had Paul Pogba when he was younger. Obviously, this was when we got him from Lee Harvey. I think back in 2009. This was back under the Alex Ferguson era when we had Paul Pogba when he was younger. He served a couple of years in the, the youth setup and that, and then obviously, got given a couple of first team appearances, but due to limited appearances, obviously, Man United and Ferguson obviously, let him go on a free transfer, and then obviously had 4 good years there with Juventus. But I still believe Pogba will leave the football club. We have been talking with Paul Pogba's agent, Mini Raiola, of discussing his future and over the possibility of renewing his contract, but he does want a substantial £600,000 a week, reportedly in that. This is what it says. This is what, it basically says in that, but it wasn't initially in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's plans anyway, to build a side around Paul Pogba. But we've definitely, got to address that midfield. But I think the players, we was in for during the summer, well, some of them, I think we will probably, reignite our interest in them in January. Maybe we'll leave some players until next summer. But I don't think we're intending on spending another substantial amount in January or next summer. I still believe Manchester United, need at least 3 world-class signings, in my opinion. If we are, to be back, if we want to get back, to where we currently want to be in that. But like I said, you can get the best players in the world, if they're not gelling and they're not playing as a team, you basically not going to get anywhere in that. But yeah, we need to give Solskjaer at least a couple more windows. But like I said, analysing our recruitment policy, isn't too good. And Solskjaer, I think, was talking about our recruitment policy, during the summer. We haven't been competitive enough in the last 3 to 4 windows at least. Prior to this summer transfer window, in the recent windows, we didn't get anyone in January. We didn't get our number 1 targets last summer, because last summer this was obviously back under the Jose Mourinho era. Our priority at that point was to get a central defending room, and obviously, we never got one in. But yeah, we've got to be more ruthless in these transfer windows and that, and we're just not being ruthless enough. I'm happy with the players that we did bring in, but for me, it just wasn't enough this summer. We needed more than Dan James, Bissaka and Harry Maguire. We needed at least one midfielder. I think also we need a right winner. But yeah, there's still areas in the squad, like Manchester United definitely do need to address in my opinion, and in my opinion, and that's it. There's nothing, much really more to say. Like I've been updating you on recent videos, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is to be sacked by the football club, who would you recommend in as his replacement and that? Like I said, a lot of reports were stemming from Italy the other week, saying that, we had made, Massimiliano Allegri as our primary candidate to replace Solskjaer. If Solskjaer, of course, is to be sacked by the football club, would he be the right man for Manchester United? Like I said, he recently, I think resigned as Juventus manager earlier on in the summer. Don't forget, he had 5 years with Juventus and that. Obviously, Massimiliano Allegri has never managed in the Premier League. He never played in the Premier League and that. But there was a lot of talks about that from Sky Sports the other week. Obviously, don't forget, before Solskjaer got recommended in and after Jose Mourinho got sacked, don't forget, we went in for Mauricio Pochettino. He was our primary candidate for quite some time. If Solskjaer is to be sacked, could the club possibly reignite our interest in Mauricio Pochettino and that? Do you think Pochettino, would fit the trappings of the club in that? Do you think he'd do a good job? His philosophy seems to be very, very good. He can develop young players, as he has, proven this with Tottenham. He's had a long managerial tenure with Tottenham. I think now this is his 6th season with Tottenham and that. Obviously, hasn't won out in terms of silverware yet, Mauricio Pochettino. But would you recommend him in if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was to be sacked by the football club? But obviously, at the time we was in for Pochettino, he had basically no intentions of leaving Tottenham at the time. We was in for him before Solskjaer came in, and obviously we know that Daniel Levy is a hard negotiator, and that when it comes to teams going for any of their players or going for any of their managers, he seems to be a hard negotiator, does Daniel Levy and that. But actually, Pochettino did say, I think it was prior to the Champions League final last season, that obviously, if he wasn't backed enough throughout the course of this summer, he actually threatened to resign as Tottenham manager and that. But now maybe some people believe if we went back in for Pochettino, then maybe he would, come straight to the football club. But at the time we was in for him, it did say, we'd have had to pay compensation from between 35 to 40 million pounds, to get him into the football club. Don't forget, we was in for Zinedine Zidane, but the number one, obviously, was Pochettino. But then obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was our preference, because obviously Solskjaer was a cheaper solution. Obviously, he knows the culture of the football club and that. Yeah. And I've also been frustrated, with the lack of silverware in the last 6 or 7 years. We haven't really won much. We won the Europa League and League Cup. That came in Jose Mourinho's first season. We won the FA Cup back under the Louis van Gaal era. We didn't win out under the David Moyes era. Obviously, we haven't won the Premier League, since 2013. Obviously, that was in Alex Ferguson's last season. And that's obviously now more than 6 years ago now. But yeah, so for me, I thought we was unlucky not to win the game yesterday. You know, we had them chances in that, but obviously, you know, we just wasn't ruthless enough again in front of goal. But yeah, so I think we should win on Thursday against AZ Alkmaar. Hopefully, I think AZ Alkmaar are sitting third in the Eredivisie. Obviously, the Dutch. Don't really know much about them. You know, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. But yeah. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do consider subscribe, as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.